is a wonderful thing. As a teacher and educator, I think it's great. The Beacon is a free newspaper in the community, raises issues which not only informs the community members about issues that impact their lives and affect us on a daily basis, but also informs us about areas and the activity of residents engaged in actions that are also in the process of trying to improve the community and bring more services. The Beacon allows networking between different areas in El Sereno and different areas in the community for us to know what is going on in those other areas. Sometimes we don't always know what is in the next adjoining community. So this is a very good vehicle to allow that discussion to go on. The Community Beacon invites everyone to submit articles that are important to them around the issues that they're involved with, and also gives a voice to many, many people who feel that they have no longer a voice, or that they believe that they have been disenfranchised in one way or another. The Beacon is read by many, many people, sometimes by cross-generations in one household. I know that all my neighbors receive it, and in the schools in the local area, they also receive it. So I just want to say, please consider supporting the Beacon and purchasing an ad. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Scott Johnson.
Good evening, LA32 board, community members, and I think it's a community for a great turnout tonight on seems like on a singular issue here. I want to speak first. The meeting here tonight, and look at the agenda, there seems like there are a number of issues where supplemental documentation is going to be presented. One small problem. The Brown Act states that all documents are to be treated as public and made available to community members within a timely manner as dictated by the law. Hypothetically, say you have a treasury form and you have reconciliation forms that will be voted upon by the board. The Brown Act dictates that those forms should be made available in the same amount of time as the agenda for the meeting. So please be aware tonight to go through your agenda that if there's supplemental documentation that's being presented that wasn't presented with the agenda packet, then you can be a possible violation of the Brown Act. Second, regarding the issue of cyberbullying in our community. There was comments made in the last meeting. I'm not going to revisit it, but I'm going to say this. It's important that the leadership of this board take a stand in outing those who condone, endorse, or engage in the act of cyberbullying, especially when they are targeting city board members. There were two committee members, and I will say the name for the records, Jenny Guerrero and Jorge Garcia, who were seen on that page, or was pulled down by Facebook, as endorsing it or liking it. I would sincerely hope that this board would denounce that sort of activity. I find it on the same level of endorsing somebody like David Duke or somebody who would a Republican message that is really disavowed by the majority of our society. So please take that into consideration this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Kamara?
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, also members of the audience, and visitors. I want to start out. I want to thank the stakeholders here and also our volunteers for coming down and sharing their reports on our support for the Community Beacon. But before I add, I just wanted to let you know that before the meeting started, I had passed out a letter or letters to all the members here. Okay? And this is the letters of support. We have it from all the way, starting from Alvin Parra, which he's the originator of the 932 voice. That was in 1999. I believe that was 2003 to 2004. And we have also another letter from the city branch of the Elgin Library, another letter of support from Absolute Towing, another letter from Cal State LA Federal Credit Union, and the last letter we have from Calvary Chapel. And if you notice, all these letters are addressed to the Outreach Committee. Okay, I need your attention. And finally, the last letter is from a good friend and stakeholder, Steve Guadalupe, reference to the support of the community. But I'd like to add tonight we have I have a major announcement to make about the community beacon. As of today, the community beacon circulation has been increased from 25,000 now to 30,000. We are now reaching communities now of Elysian Valley and also Cypress Park, and the other community, big one, which we did with the 900 Voice Community News, Boyle Heights community. So those communities are being reached, and I want to add.
I'm sorry, you're 2 minutes are up, Mr. Cabrera.
Okay, I know.
You have to, yeah, I'm sorry. It's not fair that everybody else only got to. But I think you're back up again when the item's up, right?
Pardon me?
I think you're back up again when the item's up on the agenda, aren't you?
Oh, yes. So,
Okay, thank you.
thanks.
Mr. Manzano? Oh, time's up.
That's happened before. Good evening, directors. My name is Anthony Manzano. To the stakeholders here, welcome. I live in the community of Rose Hills, former president, treasurer, vice president of this neighborhood council. So I know how difficult and the task you guys have, and it's very challenging before you guys. I do have about 8 things to talk about real quick, and I'm just going to briefly just run through them. We have $9,000 being voted on a little bit later, and I'll be addressing each item as they come up, which I think is very excessive for outreach. We have $10,000 going to neighborhood purposes grant, which obviously as well is excessive. We have, in the last 8 months, the neighborhood council has been on exhaustive efforts. According to payroll and services and needs from the city attorney, LA32 has used payroll, not you guys, but you costed the city $250,000 in attorney fees, staff fees, grievance fees, petition fees, everybody reviewing all the stuff that's going on here. That's a lot of money to be wasting, I would say. There's been neglected petitions, there's been neglected grievances, there's investigations going on for some board members because there's exceptions on outgoing payments. And $9,000 is a lot of money to be spending for outreach. But you have to consider what's happening in the schools. Nothing. What's happening in the cleaning and beautification? Nothing. What's happening in the parks? Nothing. What's happening for public safety? Nothing. So think about your decisions tonight, because we need something going on in all these little different committees that are participating. And we need to keep our board member representation to 21. I have the ballots here from, it's called Mid-City West Community Neighborhood Council. 35 board members. You're going to try to cut us down to less than half representation? 15? 15 is less than half of 35. We need full representation, not less than half. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Montano. And lastly, we have Mr. Hans Johnson. Oh, I'm sorry, this one is you after Mr. Johnson.
Hello, neighborhood council members, and hello, Pasadena and Hillside Village and the rest of LA32. Oh, sure. I just want to thank you first for your service to our city and to neighbors. It's a very important function that you serve. It's the backbone of democracy here at the neighborhood level. And I'm speaking tonight as a stakeholder and someone who's a strong supporter not only of the neighborhood council movement and a better representation for our communities in Los Angeles, but also for the community beacon and for the service that it provides in upholding those same values. Democracy is not a spectator sport. And for us who are residents of these neighborhoods and who have seen for many years the diminishment of civic participation in our neighborhoods, partly because of the lack of community vehicles to talk about the issues of concern to local residents, we are very pleased to see that the community beacon reemerge as a publication that talks about issues of development, land use, voting rights, businesses, schools, quality of education, access to higher education, and access to good jobs here in our communities. I'm here to speak for the valuable publication that this is and for the role that the Neighborhood Council can provide as an advertiser and an investor in the perpetuation of this paper. It is important for there to be information about Neighborhood Council activities as one backbone, as an advertising base for this paper. I urge you to strongly consider that, along with the other neighborhood councils that are doing so, and to keep this important vehicle of our democracy, of democratic participation, alive and thriving for this community and surrounding neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. And does the microphone reach you? Okay, thank you, Ms. Marquez.
Hello, I'm Teresa Marquez. I'm from Boyle Heights. I have served the Boyle Heights Neighborhood Council, but most important, I have an organization called the Boyle Heights Stakeholders Association that we work and totally dedicate ourselves to improving quality of life in our community. We don't take any money. Everything we spend is out of pocket. With that, I'm going to kind of go over some of the issues with alcohol. And you don't have the overwhelming liquor licenses that Boyle Heights has, but you need to be aware of what the problems may be. I'm not going to talk about the motions right now, but I'm going to give you some information that alcohol licenses, you have a lot of research to do. You've got to have a committee to do it. And people need to be aware of what you need to, is crime, violations on that place, loitering. What is the residents around there? And most of all, schools, churches, rehab areas. Is there a rehab someplace? Please do not allow liquor license near a rehab center. They have enough problems. Think about the corridors for children. Do you understand that? Now, I've been working at this for about 15 years, okay? And I have a lot of knowledge that I could present to you, but you could do the research. Alcohol Justice website. I belong to Alcohol Justice, and you could get a lot of information on alcohol licenses and so on. The last thing I'm going to tell you, and I don't know what my timing is right now, and I just noticed that I'm being filmed. I don't think you mentioned that you will be filming. I would appreciate you having some respect for us and letting us know that you're filming. I just realized that. Now, in regards to Alcohol Justice, they could come in and do presentations for you too. I guess my time is up.
Thank you, Ms. Marquez.
But a lot of time too when I realized I was being filmed. Thank you.
Yeah, we normally do film the meetings. Usually it's a camera in the back. And we're out of the camera. I mean, the camera's in storage right now. Moving on to agenda item 3, we have our speaker series, and today we have somebody from the USC Office of Civic Engagement, Mr. Gill.
Thank you.
And you could go ahead and tell me.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, council members. Thank you. Good evening, council members and members of the community. My name is Zol Surani, and I'm the Executive Director for Community Partnerships for USC's Health Sciences Campus. I've worked on the Health Sciences Campus for over 13 years. I really appreciate you giving me this time on the agenda. I'm here to actually talk about an outreach effort that we've started on our Health Sciences Campus. And this is an effort to encourage local community members to apply for jobs at USC, both on the Health Sciences Campus and on the University Park campus. As you may know, that USC is the largest private employer in the city of Los Angeles. And we really want to, encourage people in the neighborhoods to apply for jobs. There's all types of jobs, including entry-level jobs, jobs that don't require an advanced degree, and so in order to accomplish this, we have launched an outreach effort, which we've secured a mobile computer van that travels to different communities. We did a very successful event in Lincoln Heights, and we're doing another one in Boyle Heights. The van is equipped with about 12 computers, and what we're doing in the van is we have folks from our human resources department that teach people how to create an application online, how to look for appropriate jobs, and apply for them. And we also have Spanish language translation and people that are available to actually teach people how to fill out a successful application. The one that we did in Lincoln Heights, there was about 100 people that showed up, and there was no way for us to find out how many people actually got jobs, but I was giving my cards to people, and I've gotten calls from several people that, that applied, and some of them actually even got jobs. So we wanted to do an event in El Sereno, and so I'd like to approach the council to request support for this outreach event, it's absolutely at no cost. We just want to give support to promote it and to encourage people in the community we're looking for jobs to participate in the program. I do have a picture of the mobile van. It's kind of cool. You can also look at it on our website. So this is what the van looks like. And we also would like to bring hiring managers on site so that they can talk to people about the types of jobs that are available. We probably will do this early next year. It takes a lot of planning, but I wanted to present this to the council and see if there are any questions.
When and where Boyle Heights? What date, what time, and where is the location for Boyle Heights?
For Boyle Heights, we're working in partnership with the YMCA, and we're working to confirm a date, but it's probably going to happen at the end of, middle of November or the end of November.
Thank you.
Sure. And the one in Lincoln Heights was in July. Yes. Any other questions? Anyone in the audience have a question? Yes.
I just want to say, Bill here, his family had decades of ties in the community. His family owned a grocery store in the Ramon Gardens area for decades. He knows the community. He grew up here. He has a lot of friends here. It's nice to see USC reaching out and bringing people with community ties and bringing back in the fold to work with the greater community. So it's nice to see you back, and I hope you and Dad are doing well.
I appreciate it. Yes, I do have cards.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Did you say that on the mobile van, the stakeholders can come up and apply for the jobs right there?
Yes, there'll be folks in human resources. They'll teach them how to set up an account and apply for jobs right there. We encourage people to bring their resumes in the electronic format. So maybe like on a flash drive or something, and we could help them actually apply for it, and they can be walked through the whole process. Because online job application process can be complicated, and it's nice to have somebody walk you through it and make sure that you're successful in completing the application.
Okay.
I just want to
Yes.
sure. I was wondering if I could get your contact information.
Yes.
This may be a task for the Business and Economics Committee.
Oh, absolutely.
Hopefully having a meeting next Tuesday at 11 a.m.
Okay.
So
I'm happy to give you my card and even attend if you'd like to.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Tuesday at 6. Tuesday at 6. like anything. Business much. Thank you very much. I'm so appreciative.
Thank you, Mr. Cerrone. Moving on to item number 4, we have discussion and possible action for the approval of minutes for general board meeting last month, Wednesday, September 3rd, 2014, and the special meeting of the general board held on Monday, August 18th, 2014. I did prepare the minutes for September 3rd and I emailed them to everybody. We don't have physical copies, but was everybody able to review them?
Yes.
Copies? Angela, did you review them?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Were there any amendments or corrections to the minutes? Yeah. We have a motion to approve.
Make a motion, I move the motion, to approve the minutes, of those given dates.
We're only approving right now, we're only September 3rd. Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm just lost your form.
We still have 8. Yeah.
Okay, good.
It's almost 8 o'clock.
6, 8, yes.
Kicking around. Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes for September 3rd, 2014. It was seconded by June. All in favor to approve the minutes? Please raise your hand. Opposed? An abstention. The minutes are approved as submitted. We're going to have to table the minutes for August 18th, right? We don't have them.
Do you need a motion for that?
I don't. Lisette, do we need a motion to table the minutes?
Yes, if they're on the agenda, yes.
I do need a motion,
I
please.
move the motion to table the minutes for next, board meeting, whether it be a special meeting or not.
Next board meeting.
Yes.
Is there a second? Thank you. All in favor to table the minutes for the special meeting of August 18th? Please raise your hand. Opposed? And one abstention. Moving on, item 6, meeting reports from chairs. We don't have a whole lot of chairs here, but let's start with Lucia for business and economic. Do you have anything? Do you want to?
We skipped number 5.
I'm sorry, Michelle. Treasurer's report regarding LA32 finances, discussion and possible action and approval of the LA32 Neighborhood Council monthly expenditure report for September 2014. And it is up for review on the projector.
We have wet maintenance for the month of September 2014, $250, and the Alternate Recreation Center vendor department of Parks and Recs for $80, a total of $330 for the month of September 2014. That's it. I'm done, Mr. Jackson.
Is there any questions?
330 total. That's it.
Board? Any discussion? Questions, sir? We have a motion to approve from Victor.
I second it.
Seconded by Megan. Is there any public comment? Mr. Johnson?
They asked them in the car.
Oh, Mr. Johnson.
While he's walking out, I don't think there's any more public comment cards.
Okay. I don't need it.
You sure?
Yeah. I do have a big mouth on pieces. Okay. First of all, let's go back here. And with my comments earlier, as a public body, this information needs to be made public under the Brown Act within the time requirements as denoted by the law. Takes one, for example, here, we just had the vote on the minutes. People who were minded in that meeting were not able to see copies of the minutes to ascertain whether, if they spoke hypothetically during public comment, if their comment, whether it was documented appropriately on the document. Okay? Here again, and on your agenda items tonight, going back to the last board, Connie Castro would sometimes put together meeting packets that were close to 30 pages thick. Because by law, this information has to be made available to the public because documents are considered public and need to be shared under the time parameters denoted by the law. So what I'm saying here tonight is this wasn't made available with the packet that was posted. To use the example, the Roseville Rec Center, the only thing that was posted with the meeting agenda was attachment A regarding another item. But again, these documents need to be posted as required under the Brown Act. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any more? Angela?
Can we get a point of clarification from Lisa while she's here? Is that required to be posted?
I've never seen that posted in flyers, but I mean,
She's here.
That's a really great question. Actually, what can be done is, if you look at the agenda, there's language there from the Brown Act, section 5. I forget the number. So if stakeholders would like to get copies of this, they can definitely contact the neighborhood council to get them prior to the meeting. That's why that information is there. To be quite honest with you, for the neighborhood council, rarely do I see, you can put drafts. Like if you wanna, what would be a great idea, taking on Mr. Scott Johnson's comment, you can put a draft on it and post it on your website as a draft watermark. But you know, that would be another alternate for you all.
Thank you.
In almost 10 years that I've been around from Lincoln Heights Neighborhood Council and this one, none of those boards throughout the years, this one, starting when I came in here with Google, we've never done that. Including when Mr. Johnson was a recording secretary, he never jumped up and said any of that kind of stuff. Why not? He's a stakeholder and a member of this board. He's all of a sudden remembering all these regulations and rules and laws. You know, I'm kind of perplexed about that. Curious. What's the ulterior motive?
Is there any other comment from the board? Otherwise, we'll go ahead and take a vote. So we did have a motion to approve the monthly expenditure report for September as it is. All in favor?
There's a word on it that is spelled incorrectly.
Okay. Business is done. Oh, okay, yeah, that's in the department. Thank you, Cynthia. Okay, we need to do a roll call vote. Augie? Capricia?
Yes.
Angela?
Yes.
Raymond?
Yes.
Marlene? Abstain. Michelle?
Yes.
Victor? Yes. Cynthia? Thank you, everybody. And motion passes, and the monthly expenditure report for September 2014. Item number 6, committee reports from Chip. And I now Capricia. Anything to report?
Yes, I would like to.
Yes.
Is this the time?
No, we're not on. So any updates on any meetings?
I hope to have a committee appointed today for the Business and Economics Committee, and is an item on the agenda, and I hope to have the meeting Tuesday, or next meeting on Tuesday at 11 p.m. at CD 14's office.
Thank you. Raymond, anything to report from the bylaw committee?
It's on the agenda. We are actually, I'm working with the and watch the item posted up later on.
Thank you. Michelle is the chair of Budget and Finance Committee, and you did submit your goals to me, so thank you for that. And I'm still missing that from a number. Yes, could you please?
Read the budget and finance motion and going to present to the general board on October's monthly meeting our 3 measurable goals and quarterly updates to the public and board via website or whichever mechanism is being utilized by the board of the progress of each goal at the end of each quarter. The three measurable reports will be assure that the monthly expenditure reports are turned in on time every month, and assure that the quarterly reports are also turned in every 3 months, and we put them on the website. Set a timeline for the MPG process. And number 3, the budget packet to be submitted to the due date, which is September 30th. So we reached 2 of these goals. And the quarterly reports will be via website. Budget and Finance will provide the updates to the general board and public to have monthly expenditure reports, quarterly reports, budget packet, and post it up on the LA32 website on the Facebook, and we will inform the board every quarter of our progress.
Great, thank you. If you can have the microphone to June. And June, you're the chair of the Sports and Rec Committee. Do you have any targeted date for a meeting?
No, not at this time. I'm the chairperson for the public safety.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm having a little trouble trying to get in contact with Mr. Xavier. I sent him an email Monday asking if he's so interested in being on the committee. I'm waiting for a response and by tomorrow. If he doesn't get a response by tomorrow, then I will ask to see if we can get someone on that.
Okay, please do. Otherwise, you and Angela could meet and set up form. Thank you. Cynthia, Mr. Chavez. Okay, thank you, everybody. Moving on to, we have a next member here. Wow, okay. Under old business, we have discussion and possible action. This motion that the LA32 Neighborhood Council does not support the development located at 5639 East Huntington Drive North and recommends that LA32 prepares a community impact statement on the historical value of the location. Okay. Does somebody, we have a public comment? Yes, and I'm sorry, I forget. But I know you're the owner of the company. Mr. Lau. Thank you.
Well, good evening, board members. My name is David Lau. I'm the applicant for the project at 5639 Huntington Drive. And regarding the status of the project, the city's Office of Historic Resources has asked me to hire a consultant for a historical assessment for the existing home and for the area. So they will also be conducting a survey themselves to determine the historical value. So I'm waiting for the results from these experts before deciding on if or how to move forward with the project. So basically, the project is now on hold. In terms of city processing, and also for me to start revising the plans to based on the comments received from the community. So, therefore, I'm requesting that the board wait for the report, and also for me to bring a revised plan before voting on this item.
Okay, I'm gonna ask, Angela was the prior interim chair of the Land Use Committee and has more direct knowledge on this item.
Yeah, we have numerous, Mr. Miles did a great presentation. We did take a position on the Land Use Committee to make a recommendation to the board not to support the project. But I agree with Mr. Lau in many ways, and I asked the board to also give him an opportunity to do his survey, to do his continued outreach as he promised to members in the community, and table this item until we can get more information from the developer. That's my comment to the board. That's my request. Can I ask for questions?
Yeah, that's it.
Does anyone have any questions on the board?
We'll be waiting for the survey. How long is that? Is that a time-consuming process? How long is that going to take?
Kind of possibly take Mr. Love. I think it's, if I understand Mr. Long correctly, you may have to make a lot of changes in your funds either way. Is that correct? Yeah. The reason why I asked this item to be put back on the agenda, I know it was removed before, was because the committee took an action on this. And we wanted to present it to the board. It's up to the board to decide if we want to table the item and give the developer an opportunity, as well as listen to continued outreach from the community and, give them that opportunity. But my opposition was to bring it to the board and let you guys decide. Any other questions?
Can we clarify that there's going to be no action taken on the property pending this?
I'm asking if we can table the item until our next meeting. Mr. Lau, can you provide us like a monthly update on the surveyor and the status? Is that okay? Even if you email it to me, I can present it to the board. Sure. Is that okay?
So are you making a motion?
I'll make a motion to table this item until the next meeting.
Second it.
So we have a motion on the table to table item what's labeled as item number 8. The motion that LA32 does not support the development located at 5639 East Huntington Drive North and recommend that LA32 prepares a community impact statement on the historical value of the location. All in favor of tabling this motion, please raise your hand. No oppositions and 1 abstention. Motion passes. This item will be tabled. And Mr. Lau will provide Angela with updates, so you'll let me know when.
Thank you.
Can you give us the running count after you say that the motion passes? 801. Thank you. Next item, discussion and possible action for the appointment of up to 5 community impact statement representatives. These representatives will be able to submit board-approved community impact statements on behalf of the LA32 board. I'd like to open the discussion and see if anybody's interested in being one of these representatives.
Can you repeat that again, please?
We need to appoint up to 5 members to be community impact statement representatives, and you'd be responsible for submitting the community impact statements on behalf of the board. Ones that we vote on, like say the prior one, Holly wanted to provide one on the impact of the historical value of that location. You'd be the one, you go online, you submit them online.
Everything's have to be online?
It is online, yes. And Lisette, does it have to be? It has to be board members, right?
Generally, it can be stakeholders. Most boards keep it to board members only because of the access, and it's just easier to ask.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't dictate in our bylaws.
It can be less, it's anywhere up to 5.
Right. Okay. Well, I'd be interested in being one of the representatives. Is there anybody else? Angela?
Me too, but I have no access to the computer, so if you're gonna physically go out and look at the project, I would like to be part of that party that goes out there. And also for the stakeholders that are interested in this, if any of you are, you're more than welcome if you were heard. But if you have anything to do with the project, you cannot get involved because of the conflict of interest. It has to be completely unbiased.
Okay, so I have myself, I have Angela, I have Mr. Chavez. Victor? That's 4. If we're okay with 4, we can go ahead and make a motion to approve these 4.
I'll make the motion to approve the 4 designated
board members to be appointed as a community impact representative. First person would be Marty Fonseca. Second would be Angela Duarte. The third would be Mr. Ruben Chavez, and the following and last would be Victor Tunayola. Thank you. Do you have a second? The motion we have on the floor is to appoint Angela Duarte, myself, Marlene Fonseca, Ruben Chavez, and Victor June Ayala as community impact statement representatives to submit board-approved community impact statements on behalf of the LA32 board. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. 8 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 abstention. Motion passes 801. Next item is a discussion and possible action to set up an ad hoc committee to coordinate events / candidate forums / debates for all the upcoming.
I'm sorry, there was one of the stakeholders. I just wanted to ensure that folks that are submitting community impact statements, those are approved by the board, right?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, that was in our motion. Approved CIS on behalf of the LA32 board.
Okay.
No, it has to, after you make this. First, you do the statement, right? The representatives then get submitted for approval.
So again, the representatives don't create the statement and they don't have to. It could come from a committee. As long as the statements are approved by the board, they can submit on behalf of the board.
No, but before it gets submitted, I mean, you have to have public comment.
Well, okay.
At a future date, right?
Right, just like any other item.
We have nothing pending to submit right now. Like,
No, the way it's written, it says basically that this committee is going to be speaking on behalf of the board. My clarification is that it cannot speak without approval first of the board.
it's the board approved CIS. It's got to be approved by the board.
I'm just saying the way it's written here. It's confusing.
Okay.
But the motion was different. The motion and...
No, yeah, the motion read the same way. Anyways, yeah, no, it has to be approved. Like I said, an example is the one prior. If you would approve that today, then one of us would submit that CIS on behalf of the board because it was approved, but we don't have anything. Next item is setting up the ad hoc committee, discussion and possible action to set up an ad hoc committee to coordinate events / candidate forums / debates for all the upcoming elections, included but not limited to the LAUSD School Board District 5, CD 14 Council Member's Office, District 51 for Assembly, and also to address AB 32. I do have a number of interested people. There's no limit on this. So if anybody else is interested, let me read who I have so far. I have Luis Sanchez. What? No, it's not a standing committee. We don't have a standing committee for candidate forums.
That's what the community's always been that way before.
Yeah, our outreach focuses on bringing stakeholders in, civic engagement. So, okay, I have Mr. Luis Sanchez, I have George Cabrera, Jose Aguilar, Vera Padilla, Tom Williams. Is there any other stakeholders that are interested in being on this ad hoc committee? Any board members interested? Angela, Capisha? I'm going to go ahead and appoint. Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and appoint this ad hoc committee. Again, with Mr. George Cabrera, Mr. Jose Aguilar, Ms. Vera Padilla, Mr. Tom Williams, Mr. Luis Sanchez. In addition, board members Angela Duarte.
Madam President.
Yes.
Mr. Sanchez has.
You want out? And like to say that we can always add members if anybody wants to jump on board. Okay, so
I have a question on that.
Yes.
Will that, when you have your meetings, will you be able to post them? Because I don't think they're required, but would you please, so people that want to come like they do will know when those meetings and where they're having them. So people like we and myself and others from Staples want to go there, even though we're not part of the committee, we can come. And if you don't have, you're not legally binding to post them, we're in trouble.
Okay, I think that's something the chair will abide by, hopefully. We haven't appointed the chair yet. So again, let me go ahead and appoint the committee. It's going to be Jose Aguilar, Vera Padilla, Tom Williams, Angela Duarte, Capricia Varasio. Vera Padilla, I'm going to go ahead and appoint myself on the committee. And as the chair, I'd like to see either Capricia or Angela, or either of you not wanting or willing to chair. The chair of the ad hoc committee would be Capricia Varasio. And I'm sure she'll post the meeting.
I'm able to come.
And did I have a public comment on this, Anthony? Okay. Number 10, on the ad hoc committee?
Good evening, directors and directly for item number 10. I'm still taking note of the members that are being assigned to the ad hoc committee. Oddly enough, I'm over there just watching as I have 10 meetings before, and there's still a lot of learning, I guess, to go on. The proper way of doing this, and maybe I should just sort of designate myself since no one's really following the bylaws, as your honorary parliamentarian. What has to be done is first you have to make a motion to establish the committee, period. We don't know the name of the committee, we don't know how many people are on it, and you guys haven't even approved it, which you guys are trying to do right now. But after that first motion is set, I make a motion to approve an ad hoc committee. Second, you guys vote on it. Now that there's actually a committee in place, then you see the members. But you understand, there's, all you guys still don't have your board votes out here. Where are the copies at? I think this is the second or third meeting you guys purchased them, and I haven't seen not one board member with them. Make sure you follow the rules. I'm not here to complain, make it hard, or file so many grievances on it. But when I realize that you guys are not doing it properly, take some advice, listen to experience. I want to thank Marlene for coming up and addressing me, because those people who are asking for advice are getting good, sound decision making. Those who are not asking for advice are really following rules that are being created on a day-to-day basis. And there's the whole idea about creating an ad hoc committee specifically, I would say there's no need for this. If they're going to have an LA32 candidate forum, great. Education committee takes care of that. If they're going to have a council member, district assembly forum, great. Let the executive committee hear that. So there's even no need to create an ad hoc committee because you already have 10 standing committees that can do all the work. Thank you.
Thank you. So, suggestions for committees can come from stakeholders, and this was the case here. We have one more public comment from Mr. Johnson.
Yes. Good evening once again. In 2011, this body conducted a C14 candidate forum that was an example of what a candidate forum should be. I would recommend taking some of Mr. Manzano's advice and handling this properly. The most important thing is maintaining impartiality. A person like myself who is on the record being opinionated on various issues would not be a person for that committee. Likewise, there was any board members or community members, it should be clear and upfront that they are to maintain an impartiality through the process to ensure that we have an objective forum that's inclusive to community members, asking the candidates the appropriate questions they want to hear. I would recommend also too that this be done towards the latter part of January, early February. Ultimately, around February 14th for obvious reasons. But let's make sure here that these forums are an inclusive process. The District 5 race already has 4 candidates on file at the Ethics Committee website, and CD14 has 5 candidates on file at the same location. But again, I would reach out to the people who were on the Membership and Outreach Committee who were part of that process. Eddie Santiago was here tonight earlier, and that way they could give you a repository of their experience and how to set up the appropriate form. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Is there any other public comment on this? Okay, so we are going to go ahead and ratify. Actually, do I have a motion to approve this ad hoc committee as the members that I've appointed in the ad hoc committee?
I move the motion. Second.
No, I'm going to tell the chair with naming it with her committee.
I move the motion.
Okay.
Second over there.
Seconded by Augie. So we have a motion to approve this ad hoc committee to coordinate the next candidate forums debate for all upcoming elections, included but not limited to LAUSD School Board District 5, CD14, Council Members Office, District 5, and to address LA32. And the appointments are Jose Aguilar, Vera Padilla, Tom Williams, Angela Duarte, Juanita Fonseca, and Capricia Vallecillo as the chair. All in favor? We have discussion.
Oh, okay. Cool. Sorry. Just came back from work.
There's no name of the committee yet, but I think Capricia will cover that in her first meeting. Again, all in favor? Opposed? 0 opposed? Abstentions? Okay. I don't see why. The motion was made by Ruben, seconded by Augie. I'm sorry, is it okay to vote on an ad hoc committee that doesn't have a name? They're asking for clarification.
For an ad hoc committee?
That doesn't have a name yet.
Put a name on it.
Yeah. Can they put a name on it at the first meeting?
Sure, so the agenda is, I would say an ad hoc committee, if you'd like to defer to the name itself, that's fine.
I'm going to defer to the committee to name itself. And the motion passes 802. Next item is the announcement of resignations from the Land Use Committee and appointment of 2 new members, including 1 new chair. So Angela Duarte and Cynthia Sandoval have both resigned from the Land Use Committee. I have 1 stakeholder who is interested in being appointed. Is there anybody else here that's interested in being on the Land Use Committee? Board members? This is a very important committee, and they do a lot of work. I'm going to go ahead and appoint stakeholder Yvette Mejia on the committee. She's not here, but she's been spoken to. She was at one of the last meetings for the development of it. So Yvette Mejia, and remaining on the committee will be Jorge Garcia. He's already on the committee. He'll remain on the committee. I'm gonna go ahead and appoint myself on the committee as the chair. And I need this, ratified. Okay?
Do you have board members in your committee?
We have one board member and 2 stakeholders.
I'll join your committee. If you need another board member, you don't.
We don't. I mean, we can only have 3 on the committee for our current bylaws. Okay. Unless you want to be the chair.
No, thank you.
Okay, then I need this appointment ratified. Do I have a motion?
Oh, I'll move the motion.
The motion being
Read it please for me.
to appoint stakeholder Yvette Mejia to the Land Use Committee and Marlene Fonseca to the Land Use Committee as the chair.
That's my motion.
Seconded?
Somebody. Second.
All in favor? I'm sorry, discussion.
Public discussion.
Public comment?
No. You know, I don't know what's going on here, and I've been talking to the set. See, they have 2 ways of doing business here. One with a motion, one without a motion. And the other thing is, I always criticized Anthony, he's here, he knows. The president should be neutral. Neutral. You guys are giving up a lot of your power, which is our power, to represent us. Whenever the president decides to appoint themselves to a committee, you lose power. And I don't know what Dunn is doing back there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pacheco. I just need a committee in place. Trust me, this is not something I'm dying to do, but I'm willing to learn how to do it. And if at any time anybody else would like to be appointed, please, if you have the time, please. Okay, so is there any other public comment? We had a motion to approve the committee as appointed by me, and we had a second. All in favor? Raise your hand. 8 in favor. Any opposed? 1 abstention. Motion passes 8-0-1. Okay. Next item. Discussion and possible action on using a new vendor for the website maintenance. Pricing information was provided by donmillerdesign.com. Actually, I need Capricia here for this item. I believe we may have to table it because it's our belief that the webmaster has to be approved. Do they have to be on an approved list by then?
So they don't have to be on the approved list, but they do have to have required documentation in order to be on the approved list.
She's walking in right now.
Okay. Capricia, did you get any information on DonMillerDesign.com as far as, I guess they don't have to be on a list of approval, but they have to have required documentation filed with the department?
No, I do not have the information about Don Miller Design. As far as their pricing information I received was the website.
For setup?
Yes, the website setup.
Okay, and I think the other concern was that it wasn't really going to solve the problems that we've been having because we'd still be using Lunar Pages as our host.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to recommend that we table this item. We don't have the information we need.
Yes. I will second that.
So we have a motion to table item 12. Discussion and possible action on using a new vendor for website maintenance. Pricing information provided by DonMillerDesign.com. All in favor of tabling this item, please raise your hand.
Are we not public comment on that?
To table the item?
I mean, are they?
Is there any public comment? I don't think so.
No, okay.
No, because
You're the president, fine.
I'm sorry, all in favor of tabling? And Nick made the motion.
Yes.
No oppositions, one abstention. Motion passes to table this item 80901. Well, Capricia is the one that handles all the.
Okay, so it's the right side of the student to have all that.
Yes.
So you don't have a community.
It's just, I can provide an update on the website right now because we have been having various issues with it. I'm happy to provide that now.
It's not really on our agenda though.
Okay.
I just wanted to know if you were on your own.
I am on my own, but I'm open to help.
Yes.
This is outreach, the website, using the membership and outreach community involved in this also, so that we can also the membership or not. It is an outreach that for the community, so just a recommendation.
Assigning it to the membership outreach.
That's how we make it involved with it.
I did receive, I contacted 3 different website vendors given to me by the department, and each estimate that I received was, they all exceeded $5,000 for each website. And I did pursue, after discussing through our review, we as an executive committee, we felt that there may be other individuals out there that could provide the services of creating a website for a cheaper cost, and I wanted to not close off that process to allow maybe a stakeholder to go with the proper certification and get approved by the city, so they would be able then to submit their proposal for a website. We had stakeholders at meetings that said they could.
I gave you guys this
We did,
email.
yeah.
That's from Don, from that company you're saying. And they go maybe up to not even $3,500 to Ghost and put it so like that we don't have to use the one we're using now. And we pay up front $3,500, and then after that it's like $9 to $13 a month versus $250 a month. So I gave you copies of this at the executive meeting.
Okay, if there's any way that you could follow up with them, make sure that they have all the requirements, do they have all the
Right,
requirements?
I guess what we need to know is if they submitted all the required paperwork to the department. Do other neighborhood councils use
Yeah,
them?
they do other neighborhood councils.
Oh, then I can first Michelle, she has the information.
I gave you this copy on the executive meeting, but I'll give it to you again if you want it right now.
I can speak to it.
Again, we already tabled the item, so we'll have it on the next agenda with more information. So that it's not taking up the time. I know you have a public comment on item 12.
Yeah, you were having comments among board members, so you should let public comment be taken on as if you said you are discussing it right now.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Johnson.
First of all, where is the documentation on any, for example, as a concerning stakeholder, where's the documentation in this issue that I have a right to review to ascertain whether this is the appropriate measure to take in regard to the current website operator? Okay? I'm hearing back and forth between board members, but with that done in an agendized meeting open to the public, where those documents that are being made available now being discussed in a formal setting. Okay? Now, Aaron, the current guy who run the operator website, this is a previous incarnation of this board, and if there's any documentation regarding concerns about his operations of the webpage, those need to be made public. Or hypothetically, does somebody have some concerns about his handling of posting of issues? We've had one issue in the past where an agenda was not posted within the required 72-hour period on the website. But again, we are discussing things that are not being done in a public forum. For example, this easily could have been agendized in an executive board meeting, and you could have had a formal agenda setting to discuss this. But again, documents are being made, going back and forth, and there's no previous availability to the public in order to ascertain the documents, make an informed comment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Again, we did table the item, and maybe that's something that a chart could be put together that shows what we're currently paying, what services we're getting, what we're proposing.
So, the person that we have now, how long is their contract? Do you have a contract?
We don't have a contract, it's like month to month, right? Is there another? Mr. McGuire?
Thank you, Michael McGuire, I live in El Cerrito, I'm in Country. Just very quick, I'd like to hear some more discussion on why we're getting away from the existing web developer and Eric Vander. He's done a lot of work in the cities, and it seems to be, in my experience, and I've dealt with him, seems to be pretty responsive and taking care of business, but I don't know if there's some trouble there. I wish when you do consider that, consider more discussion on why we're changing. Thank you.
Okay, so when it's on the next agenda, we'll go ahead and provide that information. We're going to move on. We have no more public comment, right? We're going to move on to our next item, which is the consent calendar, and it contains items A, B, and C underneath it. All these agenda items on the consent calendar will pass when the consent calendar is approved as one. No discussion or public comment is allowed on any of these items. Items may be removed by any board member or stakeholder. Removed items will go to the end of the agenda and be treated as regular agenda items with discussion and public comment. And just to clarify, in case anyone has any questions, the reason why there's no public comment or discussion on these items is typically items in the consent calendar are going to be non-controversial, pretty easy items that are expected to not create any controversy and to save time. Is there any questions? Do you need me to read A, B, and C? No, it's got to be approved by the general board. And is anybody wanting to remove any of these items for the reason that you feel like there should be public comment and discussion on them? Stakeholders? Okay, so in the consent calendar, we have a motion that LA32 approve the letter. Can you put the letter up, Michelle, please? A letter to Lincoln Heights Neighborhood Council requesting that they remove their banners from LA32 zones. There's a motion that LA32 Neighborhood Council assist El Sereno 2014 Halloween Carnival hosted at El Sereno Rec Center on October 31st, 2014 by promoting this event on the website, on our Facebook, utilizing the LA32 email database, the LA32 Twitter, and by passing out flyers. This motion was submitted by the Membership and Outreach Committee. And the third motion in the consent calendar is that LA32 Neighborhood Council participate on October 31st, 2014 in the Halloween Carnival hosted at El Sereno Rec Center with the use of 2 LA32 Easy Ups, 8 LA32 director chairs, 2 tables, and that was also submitted by Membership and Outreach Committee. And the letter is coming up. There's no discussion. Do you have a question? Or?
Yes, in terms of the banners that we have, we've had that problem in the past, and it was handled through the
councilman.
Through the councilman, and they requested the restaurant. They didn't go to Lincoln Heights Neighborhood Council. They went directly to the restaurant, and the restaurant removed them like right now.
Okay, again, the letter's up. There is a C, we say CC, but it really is, I guess it's a C now, it's a copy, there's no carbon. to the councilman's office, so whatever entity needs to be involved, I'm hoping one of the two will. The draft letter is up. Did you put it? Okay. Do we have a motion to pass the consent? Oh, Anthony Manzano, I have a public comment.
The blue brief form here, item A later, and there's only correction to the letter. There's more area on Huntington Drive other than Topaz and Monterey. It also includes mission between Broadway and Turquoise. So either remove that on a guys specifically or just adjust it so that the document is
Can you add
accurate.
that? I can draw the evidence.
Say it again, Anthony.
Between Monterey and Turquoise.
Between Topaz, is that Topaz Avenue or Street?
You can change Topaz to Turquoise. And on Mission from Broadway to Turquoise. Because the name of the street, Huntington Drive, changed the name to Mission.
Okay, change Topaz to Turquoise. Turquoise Street, Avenue, then
Keep on Turquoise Street.
between Turquoise Street and Monterey Road.
And then include beyond and Mission between Turquoise and Broadway. And on Mission, between Turquoise and Broadway.
Mission Road.
Yes, it is Mission Road. On Mission Road.
Okay, is that?
Thank you. So again, do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Just two, one, is it possible that we can send our boundary map with the letter, just so there's no confusion of saying the names? I think the map would just show it up, it'll show exactly where the boundaries are, so if we can send the map along with the letter, just so there's no misunderstanding of what street and what street, the map's here, this is our map, this is your map, and go from there.
I'll attach a map.
Okay, the other thing is on B, motion to LA32 assist El Camino for the Halloween Carnival. It says for the Facebook, utilizing LA32 email database and passing out flyers. Is that going to be a cost factor?
No.
So it's coming from the membership and outreach committee. All these flyers coming from us?
We have flyers, yes. We have flyers.
Okay, so we're not.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, right. It says that our logo will be on the flyer, but the flyers are being provided by the person hosting it.
So there's no funds coming out?
There's never any, in the consent calendar, there's never gonna be anything that includes funds, because there's not supposed to be discussions about it.
No, I just want to make sure that this is passing out flyers, but I wasn't sure if we were going to pay for flyers.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the items, the consent calendar? Mr. McGuire, do you have a public comment? Funding what? Any of the items?
Anything that's there, if it involves something we weren't involved with, it's money that should be removed from the consent calendar. Otherwise, it at the very least should be disclosed who's paying for it and where they're coming from.
Okay, it's being hosted, both items B and C are being hosted by the El Sereno Recreational Center. As far as where their funds are coming from, I can't say. I don't know. Hosted by, yeah, for payment. All in favor of approving the consent calendar? Please raise your hand. 9 in favor, 0 oppositions, 1 abstention. Motion passes 9-0. The next item is the appointment of committees and or chairs for the following committees: Land Use Committee, Education Committee, Business and Economics Committee, Environmental Green Committee, and the Bylaws Committee. We've already done the Land Use Committee. For the Education Committee, our chair, Adan, has resigned. The other 2 members on the Education Committee are Michelle Crisantes and Nick Carrillo. We're going to go ahead I'm going to go ahead and assign Michelle as the chair. Nick, you'll remain on the committee, and I believe we have a stakeholder who's interested.
Yes.
Her name is?
Anthony Manzano.
Anthony?
Him.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought it was somebody else. Okay, and Anthony Manzano. So, for the Education Committee, we have Anthony Manzano, Nick Carrillo, and the new chair, Michelle Crisantes. And I need that ratified. Do you have a motion to approve it?
A motion to approve the new chair. To the Education Committee.
And Anthony as a new member.
And Anthony as a stakeholder.
Okay. Seconded by?
Me.
All in favor? Oh, public comment? Ward? All in favor of the new appointments for the Education Committee, Michelle as the chair, Anthony as the new stakeholder on the committee. Mr. Johnson, do you have a public comment on this?
I think I have the power submitted for the overall appointment.
Okay.
But not on specific committee appointment.
Okay.
It's on the agenda item as written.
Okay. Do you want to go ahead and make a comment?
Again, looking at the number of the committees that you want to fill, first of all, this is going to get back to something that I repeated before, repeat it again. You need 21 board members. Plain and simple, you need 21 board members. Okay? Open up, once again, not on the agenda tonight, but there was a petition turned in to fill vacancies. Again, because Dunn doesn't have oversight of the petition, it's been left off. And it's Dunn's stated position that you don't want to fill positions, okay? Because you're going to burn out people having to be involved in 4 or 5 committees. You will not be lasting long in this board. I hate to say it that way, but an inclusive body creates more energy, it supports people, brings in more creativity, diverse points of view. When you downsize, you're going to burn out people trying to do too much. Thank you.
Thank you. So we had a motion to approve the Education Committee. Ms. Marquez?
Can you say that to me? Is it right?
Thank you. My name is Teresa Marcus. I've been working for neighborhood councils since 2006, right after I retired. And I've been in every committee. And let me tell you, you could burn out. Personally burn out. You go home and it's like, what am I doing? But I'll tell you, I worked for a bank. I was a manager and vice president. The best thing to do is to have people, to empower them, not overloaded. The Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, I don't know where they're at on that. And at the Boyle Heights Neighborhood Council, we're having the same problem. They want to cut it down to 5, 6 people and burn those people out. And there's no way that you could do the job with that only 15 people, okay? We have 100,000 people in Boyle Heights, and we have 19 people. They don't have the time, everybody works as a family and everything. And don't burn yourself out. You will not do the job that you want to do, and you're going to be disappointed with yourself. Be able to empower more people into the neighborhood council. Bring in stakeholders and empower them. Give them the power. Don't take it away. And I would suggest to the chair here, don't take on more than what you have right now. Being a chair for a committee, you're taking away the power of the rest of the people that belong here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Marquez. Is there any other public comment on this item? Okay, so the motion on the floor is to approve the committee with Michelle Casares as the chair, Nick Rio, and Anthony Manzano. Do you accept?
I would accept that position for committee member, education.
Thank you. And this motion was seconded by Ruben. All in favor? That's 9. Oppositions are 0, and abstentions is 1. Next committee is the Business and Economics Committee. I'm going to go ahead and remove Sasha Perez from the committee, and I'm going to remove Jenny Guerrero from the committee. Capricia Valencia will remain as the chair. Do you have members?
I have one stakeholder.
Okay.
Rocio Santa Cruz.
Rocio Santa Cruz?
Mm-hmm. She was here earlier, but she had to leave.
Okay.
She's a business, she has a small business here in Toledo. I met her on Monday at the business, the kickoff for the Chamber of Commerce, yes. So she's interested.
Great.
I'm interested also. Definitely.
I plan on having the meetings on Tuesdays immediately following the Business Watch meetings, which will be at 11 a.m.
I have no problem with that.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, can there be more than 3 members of the committee? Or there's only 3? 3. Oh, it's only 3.
But she can still come anytime there's a meeting anyway. She just doesn't have a voting power.
Who's removing themselves? You are? You can make it 11 o'clock meetings?
Absolutely.
Okay. Business and Economics Committee.
Clarification, so have these members been informed that they're going to be removed from this committee beforehand?
Yes, they have been. Oh, yes, I've emailed and spoken to them both. Yes, Sasha, she was still interested in the committee, but her class schedule is such that she can't make it this semester. And that was a problem before with our meetings. We weren't able to meet quorum. And with her work schedule and school schedule, there's no way that she can do it.
Can I say something?
Michelle?
I strongly recommend that you do it in the evening. I tried doing that, like, meeting in the morning, and a lot of stakeholders, spoke out and they couldn't do it. And you get more of an output, and you get more of the stakeholders to be there in the evening. 11 in the morning is hard for them to do because all of them work, and, they have lives.
The reason
in the evening is, it's just a recommendation.
I
said I did that once, and they put me back to the evenings because they spoke out quickly and they said morning it was too tough.
I appreciate the recommendation, although I've spoken to several businesses from the Chamber of Commerce meeting, and also I attended the Business Watch meeting for the past month. And there's a Business Watch meeting at CD14, hosted by the councilman's office, and that has several, it's a crowded room of businesses that attend that meeting. And our meeting would be, sort of piggyback onto that one. They already have like coffee and donuts, and the business is already there. So they said in the past that they've had the meeting during that time, and they're able to get business participation because they're already there. That's just not something extra that they have to really do and fit into their schedule. But
Okay, thank you. So we're gonna go ahead and appoint the committee with Patricia Mauricio as the chair, with Rocio Santa Cruz as a stakeholder, and with Ruben Chavez as a committee member. Do I have a motion to approve that?
Second. Oh, yeah, I would. Second.
All in favor? That's 8 in favor. Opposed? One opposed? Michelle's voting opposed. One opposed and one abstention. Motion passes 8-1-1. Next, we have the Environmental Grade Committee, which I'm not going to change right now, actually, and the Bylaws Committee, which I'm also not going to change right now. So that's it for item 14. Item 15 is the discussion and possible action regarding Yuca's Big Saver Foods conditional use permit application to upgrade from beer and wine to a full line of alcoholic beverages for off-site consumption in conjunction with the operation of their new 23,225 square foot supermarket with hours of operation from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., 7 days a week. The site address is 5158 East Huntington Drive South. The case number on file is 2A 2014-1736 CUB. And do we have a number of public comments on this? We don't have a motion on this because there was no land use committee, so they did come to the executive committee meeting and asked that this item be placed on the agenda for discussion and possible action and possibly putting a motion in place whether or not it will be supported by us. I'd like to point out that we do have a land use committee now, so if we do want to defer it to them.
Thank you. Are we able to do board discussion right now, right? My suggestion is that we table this item until it goes back to land use and we do further research. There's still a lot of things that we need to look at. We need to look at the vicinity of the schools, the preschools, the grocery store. They don't even have, is there anybody here from the Yucca? Are you here? May I ask her a question?
Yeah, yes, let's ask her a question.
Do you have an application already submitted for the upgrade?
Yes, we do have an application submitted.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for your time. I'll be brief in respect of your time and your other obligations. So basically, the primary goal is to be more competitive in the market and to also offer a full line of alcoholic beverages instead of just beer and wine. But again, the primary sale of food for the community is still the main focus of Big Saver Foods. They want to increase the size by a third to accommodate the growth and also to better serve the community to offer more products. They do have an application submitted, and I'm here to hopefully answer any questions anybody might have. For instance, I had a nice gentleman in the back ask about the handicap parking situation. I guess Food for Less recently downgraded from 10 spaces to 2. I will absolutely pass that along to Yucca and make sure that he knows that that's a concern to have more than 2.
I do have a question.
Yes.
You know, at Food for Less, they have the hard liquor behind the glass that only the cashier or the manager goes and opens it. And then they have the aisle where the wine is, and the top of each bottle has like a certain safety lock type of thing. Will that be?
I believe so, because they've started doing that same practice in Vons and Vons, stores like that. So
and they'll be checking, of course, for ID.
Exactly.
Okay.
But again, just purely to be
more competitive, just to better serve the community. Because I think that they want to be able to compete with Food for Less at a moment.
table this item is because we've already received, I've personally received numerous calls on opposition on the upgrade for the liquor license. And I think it's just to be respectful. If we can have, definitely I want to get like the crime intervention, we definitely need to table this item. Do more research. Let's look at the liquor licenses a little bit more, how many we currently have. And I asked the board to please consider that. I think you still haven't even completed fully the development, so I think we still have some time for them and look at what they currently have and see if there's any restrictions. And if there isn't any restrictions, you have it. So that's my recommendation to the board, is to ask to table this item so we can further research it.
Need to make a motion for that.
Do we have to listen to public comment first?
If we're gonna table.
After the motion, first the motion, then the public comment. Or is it going backwards?
Lisette, is it public comment now or just?
If we're gonna take, so you can either take public comment now, if you table if there's a motion, if you make a motion to table the item, then the public comment has to be on tabling the item. That's what you're restricting it to.
First the motion.
Okay, so I would like to hear public comment first, so I'm gonna withdraw that table and let's hear public comment first and then discuss further. So I'm withdrawing my request to table.
But isn't that at the agenda? So they have to.
There's no
fill
motion
up.
on the agenda. Let's take public comment for the Aguilar.
Yes. The issue that I got is we have 236 licenses, so we're pretty much already saturated with liquor licenses as it is. And then the other concern is the gasoline station. Is it Chevron? Mobile. Anyhow, no, it's not mobile. Yeah, the gasoline station across the street from Big Saber got a liquor license, and it was never reviewed by LA32 Planning Department. I mean, the LA32 Neighborhood Council. I don't think it made it into PAB, Police Advisory Board. Somehow it got through without having PAB or LA32 review that license. And I still would like to have a public record request on how they got their license and who proposed for it. I also want the letter of police department support for that alcohol license, because you got the police department advocating for extra alcohol license outside of the 236. Why would you give them an exemption and not provide anybody else with the same exemption? It sets that precedent, and I think we should make that public. So the research is necessary, because not only are you going to have an upgraded license, you have a license across the street that never got reviewed by the Police Advisory Board or LA32. So I think there's some dubious issues there. There is a grade school across the street. There is a park right there. So there's issues of children. There's also a housing project, which again, that's another crime type statistics that we need to review. So let me issues between crime, saturation, and how the gasoline station got their liquor license. Without knowing how they got their liquor license, I wouldn't feel comfortable adding or upgrading this license to go along with the license across the street. Thank you very much.
We have a number of public comments on this item, but I strongly agree with Angela that it's in the best interest to table it for now, get it back to the land use committee, since we have a committee in place now. We can't.
Allow us to give you some information on it now.
No, I know, but it's.
You have one person do it and not others.
If we get it back to the land use committee, that wouldn't be an opportunity to come and speak on it? To come in for that? Okay.
But the chair can call it, but it's up to the chair. The chair has the authority. Yes, you do. Yes, but the chair has the last say on that.
So much right.
What makes you
Not according to the bylaws, I don't, but anyhow, My only purpose was because we have other items on the agenda. I don't see that we're gonna come to any conclusion on this item without it going to the committee. But I will listen to your comments.
Did you lose my card? I was the first one to give it to you before the meeting started.
No, I didn't lose your card, Ms. Marquez.
So are we gonna be creating a community impact statement, or what is the direction we want to head with this motion? I guess that's what I want clarification on. Or with this item in particular.
Well, again, because there was no land use committee in place, they came to the executive committee meeting and asked that we put it on the agenda, and the idea was to have a discussion and somebody make a possible motion either in support of it or in opposition of it. But we're gonna go ahead and take the public comment on that, because the public did come here to comment on that. Ms. Marquez.
Thank you. My research in El Sereno, and we do have 221 licenses in the Hollenbeck area that includes Boyle Heights. In El Sereno, you have 28 licenses, just in El Sereno, in LA32. In Huntington Drive, just in Huntington Drive, you have a total, in El Sereno, you have a total of 12 licenses, liquor licenses, of which 6 have violations. And the violations are the same: selling to underage youth. The other thing is that within the census tract of this particular license, you have 5, and out of 5, 4 of them have violations. Okay, that is serious for this community. You need to really start thinking about this. And I have a list of all the violations for each of these licenses. So you need to be concerned mostly is that Petromark Enterprises has a list of violations already. Selling to underage children and other issues that I am really not comfortable in speaking about. But in section 25658, parentheses, capital A, and I have that information as to what they are here, and I'll give it to you. Section 242, parentheses, capital A and B, and section 25658, parentheses, small a, parentheses. Section 242, 100, parentheses, A and B. This is serious. I would recommend not to authorize a full line of liquor for this. And I'll hand over to you all this information. The other thing I want to hand in is the CPAB letter that has agreed not to add any more liquor licenses in the Hollenbeck area.
Thank you, Ms. Marquez. Mr. Johnson?
Judging from the amount of cards you got in your hands, this is a hot button issue that needs to be sent back to the appropriate committee, whether it's public safety or land use, for further public hearing. Tonight, you're gonna have, look like you have about 10 cards. But right now, the best thing to do here is that you saw the presentation of Marcus gave. Marcus is a regular CPAP team attender, and there's other members of this community, Carlos Morales, Dennis Quiones, who have been on top of this issue for years in this community. It's one thing the business owner has a right to give the presentation on why they want this change from barrel wine to liquor. But on the other hand, too, as you heard what Marcus says, do we want Huntington Drive to be a DUI corridor? People buying liquor, one deep in the store, going home, maybe on the way home they decide they want to open up the bottle. Serious issue here. Do we want Honey to Try to be a designated liquor corridor, or do we want it to be a designated diverse business corridor? But please, in order for both parties to have a fair amount of time in an appropriate setting, send it back to committee.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Mr. McGuire?
That's fair. I remand my time back to the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pacheco?
Security, part of my life, I was very lucky to work in the marine industry. Part of my job was to find out Hispanics, how they thought, you know, and it's easy to manipulate us. We use the family, and then we use the community, and we use all kinds of ways. I'm trying very hard not to use those things that I was taught, to be very honest with you folks. You know, this should have been postponed. It should have been a fair hearing. It should have been a fair hearing for the business owner as well as for the community. But because you don't have enough people, and there's not enough people here to understand some of these issues, and you're so willing to do what downtown and done is manipulating you and doing, that you just are not allowing enough people to get involved. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Rodriguez?
Thank you. I really don't get involved in none of this. We should have been gone by 8 o'clock. But this is very dear to me. I mean, I've known this community all my life. And I want to thank you for expanding the store. I want to thank you for that. You want to service the community, but servicing the community not by selling more beer or selling more liquor. Go serve the community by giving us better products, better vegetables for the kids. You know, there's a rehab. Not less than 100 feet. There's a rehab home there. There's an elementary about less than 400 feet. There's a liquor store right across. You know, we don't need more of that. We need people, businesses like that to give the community jobs, better food, better outlet. Partner in with us with something different. You know, I'm sorry, but I like I said, I'm not into this. I'd rather be on the streets doing my job. But I just say to you, please, you know, if they have a license, you know, if it works them, give it to them. But don't expand it. We don't need more liquor. You know, just like we don't need more gangs, we don't need more violence. Well, guess what? Liquor, young, adolescent equals more violence. That's the last thing we need in El Sereno. What we need is more hope, more jobs, better decisions by the people that represent us. You know, I'm part of that, and I'm trying to make a difference, and I know you guys are. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Okay, that's all we have for public comment on this item. Do you have a public comment, Sam? But keep it. Oh, yeah.
After you say what you have to say. You can fill it out.
My name's Garish. Because my father, I grew up in this neighborhood. I grew up in Lincoln Heights and El Sereno. I did the parade as a kid. The property that's being developed was actually 2 licenses. There used to be a large bar, so that license was surrendered. I think there's a lot of concerns as far as community and security. We're not a liquor store. We don't sell pints or not pints, 200 milliliters or 375s. I think that's what vagrants can afford, like a couple shots or whatever they can afford. We're looking to expand our license. Currently we have a 9B. Does not allow hard liquor. We're looking to get a 21. Sorry, I don't have the letter. So we're just looking to expand our offering. Most, I think, people in this community go to right outside of Los Angeles City. They go to Target and Costco, just down Poplar. We don't want to leave, those people leave the community. We don't want to give them an opportunity to shop somewhere else and maybe not come back and spend money. So I'd be more than happy to meet with the land use committee or come again and answer any concerns that committee may have.
Good evening, everybody. Anthony Manzano speaking on the item. I believe it's 16, and I should have my card in here already. 15. Okay, I'm not going to speak directly for opposition or in favor of this. I'm here to speak to you guys about the process. So far, probably going to be the last public comment speaker, but not one board member has even prepared or stated a motion. No one's even seconded this yet. So all this discussion and all this time that's been going on and tabling it, which is probably the obvious answer, is going to happen, should have been deferred probably 15 minutes ago to save time. Which just shows an example that there's still a lot more training going on. The second thing, though, is regarding the liquor license specifically, is it's on the agenda. How did it get there? What committee made the recommendation? I've turned in grievances and petitions asking for items to be on the agenda. And of course, their Dem representative's not here because they don't want none of this heard. You guys are hearing stuff and being put on the agenda just because someone said and think of the executive committee meeting. Well, if they did that, then it had to be on the executive committee agenda, so I could speak on it there. And if it was not on the executive committee agenda, for the executive officers to even consider this, then there's no way it should have been on tonight's agenda. So the obvious answer, again, as your honorary parliamentarian, is table the item in due process. Let a committee hear this. Let them make a recommendation, obviously, which we're all waiting for, and then you guys can take a vote. But right now, you guys are still on the first step of 100 steps. And obviously, they can't take no action because no one's even made a motion yet. So we're all taking public comment, wasting time. You had like 8 speakers, and it's because I guess you guys are still learning. Thank you.
May I make a comment? Sorry, is the owner, one of the owners of the big sticker? Great. I just want to make it clear, I'll make a motion to table the item, but the reason why I want to table the item is I actually called CD14 and I asked to see if there's any outreach done on this issue, and they told me there was not. That it's actually still too preliminary because we had issues filling the building. To give you the opportunity to be able to hear the community's concerns and be able to look at really research, this is why I asked the committee to table this item. Let's give everybody a fair chance to speak out and give them an opportunity to say how they feel. So maybe we can come into some agreement with the liquor license that they're requesting. So I make a motion to table the item for the next meeting.
Second. And just for a point of interest, we had made a motion of this, Mr. Manzano, and it was withdrawn.
Raise your hand. 9 opposed? No. 9 in favor. Next question is opposed. Oppositions? 1. Abstentions? 1. 9-1-1. Motion passes with 9-1-1 to table this item.
Public comments on that motion?
To table?
To table.
Okay.
I'm already in a lot of pain, so sorry. I apologize. I don't have a lot of patience when I'm in a lot of pain. And I don't bring my walker. I'm sorry. But in regards to this, all the public comments that you heard, I would highly recommend that you take all that information, and if you're going to table it, that goes with it wherever you're going to table it to. That is very important. Okay? So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Did I hear someone say Frankie, my dear?
Hello? Okay. Item is being tabled and also gonna get it back to the land use committee for some research, community input and more outreach. And the next item is discussion and possible action regarding the proposed amendments to the bylaws. And that was given on attachment A. For LA32 NC bylaws, Article 13, Sections A through D, these proposals will be posted for the public for a period of 30 days for stakeholders to review and comment on. A board vote will follow the aforementioned period. The following motions were made by the bylaws committee. Motion A is that LA32 Neighborhood Council reduce the general board from 21 members to 15 members. Motion B is that the LA32 Neighborhood Council reduce the number of each regions from 4 members to 3 members and reduce the at-large directors from 4 members to 2 members. Motion C is that the LA32 Neighborhood Council quorum be defined as the simple majority of the group, 2 for committee and 8 for the general board. Please note, these motions cannot be voted on until 30 days after the proposed amendments are posted for the public. So we are going to go ahead and post these amendments in our posting locations as well as on the website, on our Facebook, on all the mechanisms that we do have in place. Right now, again, we are not voting. We did want to have a bit of a discussion, but we're running really short on time. I'm going to ask that each board member provide your opinion on the changes. If you don't want to speak, you can go ahead and pass, but I prefer that everybody does. Can we go ahead and start with Sasha?
So, I mean, as far as this goes, I definitely think that we should look into reducing the number of board members simply because we've had trouble filling it in the past. I'd like for us to have the opportunity to talk more about this. I'm hoping, we could have more discussion on this item for next time. I do think it's really important, especially because it's a change to the bylaws. But yeah, and I mean, even for, my region, I was the only one that ran. And I distinctly remember that, so I do think that it would be beneficial for us to reduce that number to 2 members. So yeah, I think this is a step in the right direction, but I would like to hear other people's concerns and feedback as well.
Thank you. Dick?
There's a couple things. I guess I do agree that we should continue to reach out to stakeholders to get their support. That doesn't necessarily mean that we shouldn't reduce it in order to narrow the focus of the board and to help establish quorum easier. It doesn't necessarily mean that we are excluding individuals. It's just that our board is one of the largest committees, and it can affect the effectiveness of our board. And so that's my opinion, but I mean, right now we're just in discussion, so if anyone would like to keep discussing that with us, I'm more than open to that. Yeah.
Okay. Appreciate.
I believe there's a number of changes concerning this particular portion of it. I wish to pass concerning this.
Thank you. Angela?
I'm just I need to hear in regards to how it's going to affect them if they choose. We need to hear from them. I don't think 30 days is enough. I think we really need to find out if it's going to impact them or if they want to be part of the board, if they want to be included. So my thing is, my opinion is we need more outreach.
Thank you.
I agree with what everybody's saying to reduce the numbers. As you can see, we've been slowly diminishing. So I think to make it more efficient, I think reducing it to 15 would be.
Michelle?
I say that we increase the numbers, and if we reduce, we're going to exhaust ourselves with
trying to chair so many committees, and it's gonna tire us and burn us out. And maybe not do 21, at least meet the community halfway and do a certain, number up, and if Don's strongly recommending down, then let's meet maybe at 18 or 19, maybe not 21, but we really need to get more people because we're going to get tired in trying to chair all of these things. And as you can see, a lot of people are resigning, left and right, so I think we should increase, not reduce.
Victor?
Yeah, I agree with her. I think we need more people involved in this. I agree with the state when they said that we're going to burn ourselves out. If you can see the way it is now, the board ones that we have now, we don't have enough right now to get involved in all the committees. And if we reduce it down to 15, we're not going to be left with nothing. So I think we need more participation. Just like the other neighborhood councils, they have so many people that are volunteering their time. I go to Lincoln Heights, I go to Royal Heights. There's so many people that are involved, and so many people that want to get involved. And their meetings are always so packed. There's so many communities that want to get involved. I think that's what we need. As far as, who actually came up with this idea to reducing the board? It wasn't none of us. It wasn't the committee. I'm trying to figure out who actually came up with this idea, because you know what? The less people that we have, the less events we're going to have, the less community impact we're going to have. So I think that we need to increase the board members, not reduce them. Thank you.
Thank you. I also agree with what Jill just said and Michelle and Angela said in regards to the number. We need to fill the vacancies. The 21 that has been in our bylaws for the last 10 years of the inception. It has fair representation, at least for 4 board members of each region. And I think that with that, bringing 21 board members to the table will give us all, again, the opportunity to become more involved and not so consumed with everything that's going to be happening in the next few months, because in January we're going to have our elections and we spoke of the school board candidate forum. That's not going to be done with 4 or 5 members. We need more members. We need to fill the vacancies. Thank you. Mr. Chavez.
I most definitely agree that we need to have the 21 or 22, without a doubt. Okay, I agree with Mr. Johnson, Manzano, Pacheco, Terry, Mr. Aguilar. They're absolutely correct. We need to fill this. It always is, even in any other organizations, when you have a 2, 3, 4, 5 that are running, and there's a larger number, it just doesn't work out well for the interest of whatever they're representing. And this is no exception. We're representing you. But you that have been complaining about this is because you, when we did have the opportunity to fill the 22, you weren't here to bid for it. Now we have a new set of board here, and my understanding is, since you're all accusing Dunn and they're not here, the reason this is set up for right now is temporary till we get off of this restriction we are. The minute we get off of this restriction, hang on, that's telling you my understanding, okay? My understanding is that the reason we have a short quorum now available to us is because there aren't enough of you here, which hopefully you will be when this is opened up. This will be opened up when the bylaws committee is done doing whatever they need to do to the satisfaction of Dunn, whether we like it or you don't like it. Whenever that's completed, I have the chair. Okay, when you have the chair, I respected you. Okay, so my understanding is that we got out of the finance problems that we had so many, and that took so much time. We're out of that. Thank you. Now the only thing left is bylaws. We're just now getting started. Give us the opportunity for the bylaws committee to get doing what they need to do. Remember, Mr. Pacheco, I should talk to you when you were chair of to get it going. Maybe we wouldn't be having this problem, because you would have presented them with whatever work your committee would have done.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chavez. You're getting off topic.
No, it's all the same subject.
But Okay, thank you.
That's fine, thank you. I make my point anyway.
You did, thank you.
We just have to review. We don't have to take an action or agree to what their demands are. So we are reviewing.
We are reviewing.
Am I correct?
You are correct.
Okay, thank you.
Sasha?
Okay, and thank you everyone for, expressing your concerns and everything, because it's really interesting to kind of hear like the other side of things. I think what we're kind of forgetting, speaking about this from the aspect of me and Nick being involved with a nonprofit on our campus and the way that our nonprofit works. We have board members, we have also committee members, we have volunteers. There's several different layers to our organization. Not everyone that's in our organization sits on the board. And so that gives us a lot of extra help when we're planning events. That gives us a lot of opportunity to go and work with people from our university. We're using student fees, so we have to be very aware of that, making sure that people are involved, making sure that we're doing really good outreach. And I think in doing that, in using things like committee members, or whether it be like commissioner positions, which is what we also have. Those people don't sit on our board, but they play a huge role in helping plan our events. It's really allowed us to kind of reach out better to our students. And I think that we should maybe look at taking that kind of model into consideration. I'd love to bring that in and maybe talk to everyone more about that, because I definitely understand the concern. We need to make sure we're doing outreach. We need to make sure that we're reaching out to the community in the most effective way possible. I just don't know if increasing our board size to be 21 or 30 is necessarily going to do that. I think that there's other ways that we can explore and other ways that we can get community members involved. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Sasha. We're gonna, did you?
Take a minute.
Okay, one, please, quickly.
Essentially, the discussion, I love the discussion where we're having back and forth dialoguing, not just with ourselves, but with the stakeholders. I think it really helps foster a great board. But and I just wanted to say, when it comes to when we talk about outstretching ourselves, maybe we should look into expanding not the board, but these standing committees and opening it up to more people. We talk about overworking ourselves, and yet we only allow 3 people to a committee. And so I think maybe we should be discussing opening it up those committees so that we can have more people, we can have more ideas, and then when it comes to the board, it can be finalized or discussed thoroughly, and then if it needs to be sent back to the committee, it can be discussed. And we have that relationship, but we don't have such a large board that it's unstable. If Athens couldn't do it with their direct democracy, what makes us think we can?
Thank you. So you guys know that you can go ahead and attend any bylaw committee meetings and put in your suggestions, because you're getting into changing other bylaws, which they are reviewing and will be making recommendations on for now. They're reviewing the mandatory amendments to hopefully get a topic exhaustive evidence. We're going to go ahead and turn it over to public comment now. Mr. Pacheco?
First of all, I was the chair of bylaws committee. That was done time and month after month. We were talking about the standing rules committee. That wasn't done because we can never get the bylaws to be absolutely working with standing rules. But what's important here more than anything else, I can't understand that Dunn sent these recommendations supposedly on January 2014. Never informs us, our board that has 21 people on it, that it wants to reduce the number. Turns around and takes most of you that are novices, have no idea what's been going on in this community. It's the first time you've been involved in this particular organization. And then says that somehow you, through osmosis, know what's best. We're not expanding. The bylaws say 21 members. You haven't filled that. You haven't done your responsibility. The quorum is 11 folks. You have an attorney here. You should ask, when it says quorum 11, does a department of the city of Los Angeles have the right to change the law? I don't think so. The corporate code says 11 quorum. Exhaustive measures, if you take a look at Rocky's deals, and I've got it here if you want to take a look at it. Exhaustive measures is supposed to give you a written plan of the things that need to be done. That should be your first priority. All this other stuff is a joke. It's a pantalla, as they say in Spanish. It's a political joke. You're being used, and I don't mind saying that. I know you don't like it, but one day you're gonna wake up and say, "Hey, that vato was right, man." You know, this was odd. You were just being used, and you don't even know it. Thank you.
You're welcome, vato.
Mr. Williams?
Go for it, Doc.
Tom Williams, 30-year owner occupant in El Sereno. You need more, not less. How about a representative for seniors? And a long time ago, we considered a representative for those less than the age of 18, the juniors. Because one of the things I always tell people, except for certain individuals here, this is one of the youngest neighborhood councils in the city of Los Angeles. Don't make it the smallest. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Mr. Johnson? And yes, we
But what is wrong with inclusive democracy? Simple question. This board has been more members, but you've been told by a department who has no substantiating documentation because I filed a public records request to ascertain that documentation. Okay? Nothing exists. You think Lizette goes home tonight, files a meeting report on what she saw tonight? She does it verbally. She doesn't fill out a report because that's what the department told me. Ask Jeff Brill, the document coordinator. What you need to do here is, I want to have two people come in late. Now, granted, you're young, going to school, I understand school change, schedules change from quarter to quarter, semester to semester, depending on what Cal State has, okay? But you have stakeholders that have been here since 6 o'clock. And to not invite those stakeholders who are constantly here, month after month, on time, and start a meeting, it's abysmal. And to our bylaw committee chairperson, Mr. Diaz, I submitted a public records request based on the notes, documentation, minutes from your meetings, and you never responded. But you do respond that you're done with the public at a meeting. Okay? The committee's here tonight, and they're saying inclusive government. Go back to make the records. How many comments were made against? How many comments were made for Lauren and board size? Okay? And one last thing before I can stop. If the person who submitted the motion has a lawsuit against the city of Los Angeles over representation of a committee called Relative. Thank you.
The timer was up, sorry. They started it. Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Johnson, I don't think you should criticize.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, never, don't even engage, please. Mr. Aguilar.
Okay, Z. Aguilar, I was a previous member of the previous previous board. What you have to understand is how I got to the board. Me and Ruben Chavez ran from the same seat. It was like my nemesis. Long story short, he made it onto the board. I did not. But under the filling vacancies clause in your bylaws, it states that the top runners-up of any other region, losing candidates from the same region board, nominate from the top runners-up candidates from other categories, region, or at large. What that means is that you have people in this audience, you have people in the runners-up category that you can request from them if they want to participate in this board or not. If they do, you put them up for a vote. to add them onto the board or not. That's how I became a board member. I became a board member because I lost, but I had the second, I was runner-up, and the board added me, to the board, and I was added to the board under that clause. The remedy is not to downsize the board. The remedy is to exercise the filling vacancies clause in your bylaws. That's the remedy. All you have to tell them is that we reviewed the bylaws, the downsizing, vote it down, and then tell them that you recommend to that you exercise the filling vacancies clause. There's 4 other topics, 4 other ways of filling vacancies right here. I would suggest that common sense would suggest use this first before you downsize the board. If this fails, if you can't get a community to commit to making themselves member of the board, exercise this. If this fails, then downsize the board.
Thank you, Mr. Aguilar. Did you public comment on this already? Ms. Marquez? Okay, this is going to be the last public comment. We do need to move on. There's not going to be any action taken on this.
Can I come up?
Yes, please.
I was a bylaw chair and we took Boyle Heights Neighborhood Council out of exhaustive measures. And let me tell you, I fought like hell with that. They lied to you. Okay, you might want to go and look at other neighborhood councils. They have a lot more than you do. One of them is Venice. Okay, they're lying to you. They did the same thing to us. We had at one time 51 members. And let me tell you, with 51 members, we did a lot. We even had a parade. We had a pageant for Miss Boyle Heights. We did a lot with 51 people. And it was tremendous how we helped each other. We all came together because we felt we were needed, we were wanted, and we made a lot of changes. Now, with the bylaws, Mr. Diaz, I hope you're listening. Okay, we fought Don. I don't know what Don is trying to do, and I don't know how this is going to make it easier for them, but it's not going to make it easier for you. The other thing that I'm going to bring up to you, if you have 15 people, think about it. I hope you guys are good at numbers. If you have 15 people, your quorum is 8. Okay? Then, if you have committees, you can increase to 3 on the committee. Because if you have more than 5, you're in violation because that would be the quorum, the majority for your executive board, for your general board. So you're going to be in trouble. And then when somebody has to recuse themselves, then you're in bigger problems. So don't go 15.
Thank you, Ms. Marquez. Okay, so thank you for your comments. Again, you have that? I'm sorry? Come on, Mr. Manzano.
Good evening, this is Anthony Manzano. I'm only doing this because all stakeholders should have equal time. So thank you. My card was submitted. Obviously, you guys are hearing from the stakeholders this evening, and I know there's going to be no action on it, probably for at least another 30 days. I'm thinking probably closer to the holidays. But the answer is, not one person from the public has come and said reduce the board. Not even one. But you know what? There was one. But they're not considered stakeholders because they're on a committee, just like Mr. Johnson mentioned. Now, real quickly, I talked to the people on the streets, and I know what's going on in the neighborhood. And to exclude someone is what's unacceptable because one little old lady told me, and her name is Amy, so I'll tell you who she is, Amy. She said, even if they were Hitler, they should be on the board. And I was like, you're right, because that means inclusiveness. So check it out. You heard from Venice has 21 or some other odd number. I have the bylaws here that says the governing composition of directors, the board of directors shall consist of 35 stakeholders. That's at Mid-City West. Arroyo Seco, 21. Lincoln Heights, 21. LA32, 21. So we're just flowing right in stream. Now for those of you, like Mr. Pacheco mentioned, that are new, and they're telling you, reduce the board. Who is saying do this? John? Do you have to listen to them? No. And oddly enough, I already know it's not going to pass. So any effort to even try to pursue this is waste of taxpayers' dollars. Because the bylaw says you guys need 2/3 vote. So that means out of you guys sitting here today, 8 of you have to approve it. And that's already not happening. So why waste your time? Just like Mr. Pacheco said, they're counting you guys. I don't know how else to say it. If it was me over there sitting in the seat right here as president, this would not even be addressed. It's not even close to being an issue. Just fill the vacancies. And last thing, if you guys even do vote on this, and you don't hear the petition, and you don't hear the grievance that's already been submitted since May, you guys are violating the process. There's an attorney over there, because you already have outstanding petitions. The stakeholder said, fill the seats. And you also have an outstanding grievance, which has not been heard. So don't let the city attorney, that's what I'm saying, spend all this money, because they're up close to $250,000, wasting time fixing LA32 neighborhood council troubles.
Thank you, Anthony. We're gonna go ahead and conclude that portion. Just to clarify to everybody, and I haven't spoken on this, that we did receive a letter, and this was one of the mandates to get off of exhaustive efforts, which we inherited. It's not something that we didn't cause it. And I as the chair am trying my best to move along as quickly as possible. And if they're asking us to just simply review this, whether or not it passes, it doesn't. But if I comply with their final mandate and then they don't remove our exhaustive efforts, then there's a big issue. But we were given a letter that puts everything on hold, and you guys saw this letter. We can't address grievances, we can't fill vacancies, and it's in writing to us. And that's just where I'm tied. Capricia?
I would like to make a motion to move number 19.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let her finish her motion. If we're gonna move an item, which I think we should, because we have had people here waiting, then we do need a motion to extend the time first.
I would like to make a dual motion. Of the first part of the first part of the motion is to extend the time of the meeting until 9:30 p.m. And also, the second part of the motion is to move number 19 to proceeding number 17.
Well, we have also
Okay, let's go ahead and take the first motion to extend the meeting till 9:30. Seconded by Ruben. Discussion, public comment?
I'm sorry, 40. Okay.
And can we have a raise of hands if you're in favor of extending the meeting to 9:30, please?
Okay.
Capricia Fernando?
Yes.
Ryan in favor, opposed? Augie, was your hand up for favor or opposed?
You said are we voting now for the first part to extend?
Yes, to extend the meeting.
Because I want to amend the second motion that I made.
10 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 abstention to extend the meeting. That motion passes. Now your second motion.
Now my second motion is to move number 20. I'm sorry, I misread my notes. To move item number 20 to immediately preceding number 17. 16. Numbers, no, we already discussed 16, so 17. To move number 20 to before 17, because now we're done with 16.
So, to hear 20 next?
Yes.
Seconded. Okay, seconded. Any more discussion? Community? Public comment? All in favor of moving item 20 to be heard next? Please raise your hand.
We have 2 people out there with their hands.
Simply to the point, if people are here for money issues, you can't vote on it tonight anyway.
We can't vote on it, but maintenance on pending removal of exhaustive efforts. It's written in the motion, and this also clarified that at the beginning of the meeting. I don't know, maybe you weren't here, but maybe you were talking.
But what I'm saying, for benefit to the people here, the formal vote on monetary issues is gonna have to be made at next month's meeting.
That's not true, and the department will not approve any payment until exhaustive efforts is removed, but we can vote on it. Thank you.
Next move. You have the authority, chairperson.
Okay, I'm sorry, we were on the vote to move item 28 to be heard next. All in favor, raise your hand. 8 opposed?
I'm sorry, we're trying to like read it. We don't see what's going to happen. So that's why it's happening. You don't have an agenda?
Yeah.
Opposed?
Yeah.
It's up on the board.
Oh, yeah, it's up.
16 was just for discussion. The bylaws are gonna be, the amendments are gonna be posted for the next 30 days, and it'll be calendar, for the agenda for the next meeting. Or the following, whenever we can. In favor? Yes. Okay, so, again, in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, opposed? 0, and abstentions are 1. Motion passes 9-0-1. We'll go ahead and hear item 20 now. Discussion and possible action. The motion being pending removal of exhaustive efforts that the LA32 Neighborhood Council co-sponsors with El Sereno Community Arts, Dia de los Muertos event with funding of $1,000. This motion was submitted by the Membership Outreach Committee. So that's the motion. Is there any more discussion? Any more discussion? Richard?
Usually when we fund items like this, we have an itemized list of what we're paying for here. There is no itemized list of what exactly the is there an itemized list of what the $1,000 is going to be used for?
I don't know, Michelle, did you get that?
No.
No, no itemized list.
They were
Well, I think that
we can ask them if they're here, so we can ask them.
yeah, I think that before we make any decisions to either support or not, just to know exactly what we're paying for. I think that would be the best way, so we know exactly what itemized list of exactly what it's $1,000 for. So I just like.
Anybody else on the board? Anything? Public comment?
I wanted to say something.
Okay, go ahead.
If we do decide as a board to co-sponsor with them, in the inventory and the storage, we have items that belong to LA32, tissue paper, glue, and glitter, which was purchased from the former board to do Dia de los Muertos event from last year. So if we do co-sponsor with them, I'd like to, amend motion to endorse it to the El Sereno Community Arts Dia de los Muertos, because they will be using that for the community for decorations. They'll have booths and everything, and I guess when we go into public comment, we'll give you more details on what they're going to do. And they might even have the project already list of what the expenses will be.
If you want to amend the motion, you need to say.
Are you amending?
Yeah.
Okay, so then I'd like to amend the motion
by adding
if we do co-sponsor, to endorse the item of the tissue paper that is in the LA32 storage with the glue, 2 gallons of glue, and glitter as well.
Okay, so at the end of, after with funding of $1,000, and so we're gonna say, and providing tissue paper, glue, and glitter.
Endorsing it to them.
I said providing tissue paper, glue, and glitter. That's in.
Well, we can't donate it.
Well, providing tissue paper, glue, and glitter. That's in LA32 Neighborhood Council Public Storage.
Correct.
Do I have a second on the amendment?
And of course, our logo will go on their flyer too. Once we approve, our logo will be in their flyer. That's what we're doing.
Do I have a second on the amendment? Seconded by Capricia. Any more discussion on the amendment only? Public comment on the amendment? On the amendment, not on the original motion. Do you have any public comment on the amendment? The amendment is the initial motion, pending removal of exhaustive efforts that LA32 Neighborhood Council co-sponsors with El Sereno Community Arts Dia de los Muertos event with funding of $1,000. The amendment includes the words, and providing tissue paper, glue, and glitter that's currently in LA32 Neighborhood Council Public Storage. Yes, it's there. It's there.
It's locked up too.
It's locked up with the key.
Is there a public comment on the amendment? Is that for the amendment, Mr. Aguilar?
Yes.
The tissue paper and the glue and the glitter?
No, just the previous amendment.
That's the only amendment.
Just for the glitter?
The tissue paper, glue, and glitter.
Oh.
No public comment on that. We have a second on the amendment. Can we go ahead and take a vote on the amendment to amend the motion to include providing tissue paper, glue, and glitter that's currently in LA32 Neighborhood Council Public Storage? All in favor? 9 in favor. Any oppositions? And 1 abstention. The motion to amend the original motion passes 901. And I will go ahead and go back to the original motion. Pending removal of exhaustive efforts, LA32 Neighborhood Council co-sponsors with El Sereno Community Arts at Dia de los Muertos event with funding of $1,000 and providing tissue paper, glue, and glitter that's currently in LA32 Neighborhood Council Public Storage. Okay, we got a second by Cynthia, and is there any discussion on this from the board? The motion's already been, the motion was submitted by the outreach.
Yeah, going back to my concern of the itemized list, now, will that be presented to us today so that we know what we're voting on, or will that just go along with the motion? Because I'd like to see what exactly $1,000 is going to vote on this.
Yeah, I mean, she said she didn't have an itemized list.
You'll be speaking right now, so that I have it now.
Okay, well, I'd like to hear the.
Okay, we're gonna take public comment and maybe they want. And so let's start with Mr. Aguilar. This is for the $1,000.
Yeah, I just have a question, a concern that any organization that requests funding, I hope that they have bookkeeping, and I hope they are incorporated, and I hope they have bylaws, and I hope they have, everything that's necessary to be accountable for the funding. If you hand any organization public funds, we as stakeholders or you as board members have the, can request to have an itemization as to how they spent the money. But if they're not incorporated, if they don't have a nonprofit, then that becomes very questionable as to how they spend money. So I would request that the board investigate to see if they actually have bylaws or they're incorporated as a nonprofit. And the only reason for that is to make sure that there's accountability measures under state law that they will have to, that they're required to submit to the public if there's a public records request act. That because they're incorporated, they do have to follow certain rules from the Secretary of State to provide how that funding got allocated. All nonprofits have to provide accountable measures. But if they're not incorporated, then all that is questionable. Then you might not know how they spend the money. And that's my concern. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Tescano? Okay, Angie DeLatorre?
Hi, everyone. I don't know if I can address that issue, but I have our fiscal sponsorship letter that's from Value Action, and they're a full nonprofit, so everything is going to go through them. And the funds would be specifically for the artist reception, which Cynthia had participated in like 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. And at that time, we, I think, did $500 or $600, and it went in like, all the food went in like 20 minutes. So that's why we're asking for 1,000, and it would be Derecho Mexico. Yeah, and then all the artists that participate in putting the altars up. So, and of course, all the sponsors, you know, which would be your UVIPs.
So that's what
yeah,
the committee.
Just yeah, and the banners. But this is just the workshop, which is what we want the tissue and the glitter for the kids, and that's gonna decorate on the day of Dia de los Muertos.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson? Can we get, is that better for us? Thank you.
On this issue, Mr. Ayala brings up a very salient point. Where is the line item? I think for the record, a couple people in this group to state that they were on the previous incarnation in the Arts and Culture Committee on the previous board. And when there was an issue regarding them setting the line of credit, which wasn't appropriate, then they resigned from the board. Now, overall project, I mean, we could all probably approve of the project, I think I would. But once again, our number one responsibility is steward of the fiscal trust. We have to make sure that the money here is being spent in the appropriate manner for the appropriate protocols. I think what this board needs to do here, because you look at the agenda, is you're seeing various groups coming with you for monetary requests. But there to be a standard protocol that you come before the board. And Mr. Ayala has questions about the line item expenditures, and those groups should be told beforehand to bring that to the board. And previously, I have to say this for the record, previously board members have been attacked because they're bringing those issues up. And I would hope that in the future, board members are not going to be attacked because of something fiscal, and the board should stand behind board members and state those questions. Okay? Mr. Connell here, over here, in the past has stated some very derogatory things about board members, and he has condoned derogatory attacks, including one on a city board member. Well, your name is on there. You don't have to go far. Okay? But the point is here is that when organizations come to this board asking money, be responsible in asking all the questions in the spirit of open and transparency. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Ms. Cotto?
Thank you, neighborhood. As you know, I was a prior member of the El Sereno Arts and Culture. And yes, there was this issue of us being accused of taking funds that was completely wrong. We feel very strongly and very proud about the effort that we put together last year with no funding whatsoever. This year promises to be even larger because we've gotten so much sponsorship, but it would be I don't want to say a tragedy, but it would be very negligent and open to not have our neighborhood council endorsement on there. Especially, as I said, this event promises to supersede our expectations. What became is just one person, me, putting an altar together for my parents, to a whole neighborhood event, and seeing children and families and people coming out instead of a lot of unfortunates who hang out by the liquor store, meant the world to me, and I think it meant the world to a lot of you. So I would really appreciate you supporting us in this measure, and if there's any further questions as far as where the money is going and any accountability, we'll have it completely addressed. If not immediately, and not immediately at this moment, certainly as soon as we can target it, right, Benji? So I think, I don't know if that's been my time, but.
Yes, you know, 9 seconds.
Well, that's enough for me to say thank you.
Thank you, Elena. Mr. Cervantes.
All right, my name is Andrew Cervantes. I'm a local artist here, and I'm working in conjunction with El Sereno Community Arts on the Dia de los Muertos event. I wanted to give you some background on the event. This is the 5th annual event. Normally it's just an ultra walk up and down Huntington Drive. Last year we added the underground tunnel, the art tunnel. And this year we've taken it to another level. We're going to do a street closure. We're working in conjunction with PESCA, Petro Mexico, the Art Tunnel, and Red 67. So there's several groups that are working together. We're going to have over 20 local food vendors that have restaurants in the city of in El Sereno. They'll be vending at the event. We have overwhelming support of all the rest of the vendors who couldn't attend because they're small family-owned establishments that can't have a group in attendance and keep their store. I think if you participate, we're inviting you to participate actually. So if you could have a booth for an outreach, that would be great. Whether or not you guys are out of exhaustive resources, we really do want to give you that booth for outreach to have you as a presence there. It's going to show support of a tradition that's, celebrating in our community. It's a great opportunity for outreach, and it shows a lot of support on your behalf. The art supplies that we're asking for are for free community workshops that we're going to offer for the children. That would include flower making workshop, where the flowers will be used to decorate the different altars and the different areas of the event. The kids get to take home an altar, they learn a little bit about the history of the event, and they work with artists to provide an outlet for artistic expression. So I just wanted to give you a little information on that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Swanson. Mr. Manzano?
Good evening, everybody. I think I have mentioned specifically all the money that wants to see and put money for $1,000. I didn't count the motion, but if you count items number 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21, all recommendations from the outreach commission, that's almost $9,000 to be spent. $1,000 of which you guys are going to vote on right now. But I would say, if you're going to be spending $9,000 for membership and outreach, $10,000 on the neighborhood purposes grants, your operation expenditures, I think you guys only have about $2,500 left for the rest of the year. Does that make sense? I addressed the chair and the Budget and Finance Committee when we first started. And the whole idea is, and they're asking in the back, do the committees have a budget line item? Do the committees have a budget? Do the committees have a budget? What you're seeing is one committee using all the money, almost $10,000. That's about $8,700 from item 17 to 21. What I would suggest is you guys reduce the size of the allocation. It's not mandatory you give them $1,000. Give them 300. Give them 500 bucks. That's 500 more than they had last year. Plus, you're funding the program. They're getting money. You support the idea. They use what's inside the public storage already over here, and everybody's happy because there's still money left over for education, arts and culture, beautification, public safety, parks and recs. You guys really need to pay attention to what you guys are doing here, because I've been continuing trying to assist, educate, maybe you could say advise, but when we watch over here and what's going on, and none of you guys are really bringing these issues up, but you guys are taking actions. Now the wording I'm going to say is pending removal of exhaustive efforts. I'm really going to like this, because in exactly 1 month, you're either going to have a great event for the Dia de los Muertos, and you guys are going to be off for the exhaustive measures. Because the only way you can pay is if they take you guys off exhaustive measures.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Manzano. Mr. Kano?
Let me correct some misinformation by Mr. Johnson. The reason the Arts Committee left was because the former council had members, Mr. Johnson one included, that demonstrated hostility towards our Chicano, our Latino culture. Hey, I'm talking, right?
Please, Mr. Johnson, come on. Mr. Johnson, please. I know, but you're out of order, and we listen to you.
I'm making a correction of the record, okay? You want to keep maligning people on your racist mayor, Sam, sister cities, you're talking about me. I don't hide behind anonymous postings.
Let's keep it on the agenda item, please, and Mr. Johnson, please respect the other stakeholders. Agenda item.
If you don't have the money, then at least let them have the materials. Okay? I understand the whole issue of exhaustive measures. You guys are in this situation because of the previous board, and these are the guys wasting time, complaining, and just nonsense, okay? They can slack their yaps all they want, but if they can get their materials, we welcome that. If the money's not available, the next one.
Thank you, Mr. Kano. Our last public comment card is from Mr. Pacheco.
Yeah, whatever, shut up. Mr. Johnson, you know better. You've been a board member. You know better than to act like that.
See, I resent that. I was the chairman of the Chicano Studies Faculty Affairs Committee at Cal State LA. I worked so doggone hard with the Chicano community at Cal State LA. Right? He knows, Ruben knows. And for somebody to start saying that he represents Chicanos or that we don't, that's wrong.
I'm sorry. There's something. I'm sorry. There's. Ms. Marquez. Stop the time.
Ms. Marquez, this is
Please, I know it's a contentious issue for
They're
us, but
insulting me, they're telling me things.
Can I get a card outside to walk me to my car?
we get insulted at Mr. Chavez. I'm insulted on the meeting.
Yeah, we got insulted too.
Go ahead, Mr. Chavez.
Irregardless, I was showing a big crowd. No, wait, hold on. I'm looking at the computer, Ruben. Hold on, because I'm trying to reference that it's off of the internet. There's a couple people here that, according to the internet, it states we're supposed to have 21 members. That's what off of the NUN website. There's several of you that haven't completed your ethics training and haven't completed your funding training, according to the website. And there's also some expirations. So, no, we can't vote. Ruben, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Yeah. Like, you're not the one.
Mr. Chavez, please let him finish, please, so we can let him
No,
go.
that's ustedes.
Thank you, Mr. Pacheco. And I have one final public comment, and if we're gonna vote, we need to vote now because I'm meeting it. Okay, go ahead, Ms. Garcia.
Good evening. I've been listening to this comments. More than anything, I would like to ask this board to support this motion. It's a great event. Different points have been brought up, and I would like to clarify some of the points. First of all, the line of credit, the committee was misguided, and we're told that they could have a line of credit. They never received any supplies, so they never. People behind this event never took anything that was not theirs from the NC. Okay. Members here were asking for fiscal, making sure that they're incorporated. I think they've already presented that Value Action is a fiscal sponsor, so that's been taken care of. Line item is requested. I think that could be taken care of. They mentioned that the event is going to be taking place at Hecho Mexico, so it's going to be supporting a local business, and I'm sure that if you request a line item from Hecho Mexico, they will be able to provide that to make sure that all the money is accounted for. So I would like again to ask this board to support it. It's a great opportunity to do outreach. It's a beautiful event that takes place in the community. I would say to go ahead and support it. I think all the items that board members have been asking for would be in place. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Garcia. Capricia?
I would like to make a motion to approve the amended motion to.
Appreciate
Oh, okay. I would like to amend.
Sure.
I would like to amend to the original motion that we have a booth out there, and that the 1,000 will be payable to Bio Action, and Bio Action will delegate that fee to El Cerrito Community Arts for the event of Dia de los Muertos.
If you're trying to amend the motion, then we have to have board discussion and
I'm trying to be
open the
specific.
amendment.
Yeah, I'm just trying to be specific because I hear community saying, where's the money going?
So you're not really trying to amend it, you want to clarify.
Clarify,
that
yes,
the
I'm
money
trying
is
to
gonna go
clarify to Bio Action, and Bio Action will delegate that to, because Bio Action is the one that is the one that will get the check.
So what is the original motion read like? Does it read anything like that?
Right now, the motion is pending removal. That's the reference that the LA32 neighborhood council co-sponsors with El Cerrito Community Arts at Dia de los Muertos event with funding and provide tissue paper, glue, and glitter that's currently in LA32 neighborhood council public storage.
So I would like to amend to have the 1,000 be payable to Bio Action.
Second. Second.
Now we have discussion on the amendment. I'm sorry, you made an amendment, right?
Correct.
Motion?
We'll have to agree to pay more because we're paid up to 9. Young man sitting in the blue shirt would let us know, but we have to agree as a board as well.
Okay, it's a meeting. Are you willing to stay and collect
So then I make a motion to extend the meeting till 10 p.m.
Okay, we have a motion to extend the meeting. I'm sorry, did you say from hello?
10 p.m.
10 p.m.?
We end sooner, we end sooner.
We're gonna say, okay, so 10 p.m. Seconded, all in favor of extending the meeting to 10 p.m., please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What about you? 6? No. Can you raise your hand, please, if you're in favor? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
If I'm agreeing that we're gonna pay more, it's gonna come out of operation.
Opposed? Here, you're opposed? Opposed? You too? 1, 2.
Yeah, we finished. So
I have opposition to 2, in favor with 7. An abstention. Motion passes, meeting
So-
consent until 7 p.m.
So I go back to, I amend to clarify and add to have a booth for Dia de los Muertos event, and the 1,000 will be payable to Barrio Action. And Barrio Action will delegate that fee.
Okay.
To El Sereno.
After with funding of $1,000, I'm gonna say payable to Barrio Action,
Correct.
to Barrio,
Not to exceed 1,000.
with funding up to 1,000. And then at the end of the sentence, after the winter that's in LA32 neighborhood council public storage and use of, what, LA32 tent and
Booth, easy, which is easy offended.
use LA32 easy oven chairs. And do we have a second to that motion?
Mr. Chavez seconded.
And do we have any discussion on the amendments on the board?
Can we add the concept just to give us the receipts in case instead of doing the whole line item? Is that just
Fair. Ask for him for the receipts.
Would that be easier and more time consuming if we can just get the receipts after the event? I'm sure it'll be great.
And pictures.
Do we need to put that into Okay,
Yeah, I think it's a great that we pass and it's great to be like every time. But I just want to make sure that we go by protocol. We usually don't do this, get the receipts after. We usually have to have an itemized list of what's we paying for first. So I can support it, I'm full support of it, but I think that what we should do, just so we won't get in trouble for this, is that if we can get an itemized list prior, it can be till tomorrow or whatever, but we can work for it today, but if we can.
With that condition.
With the condition that we get an itemized list prior to the event, I think that we'll assure ourselves that, hey, this is what we're paying for.
Sorry, okay.
We're doing after, they're gonna say, hey, well, how come you didn't know what you're paying for?
Right, well, we already have a second on the amended motion.
Let me make a comment.
Yes.
We have supported that activity in the past, and they put on one hell of a show, I mean, in positive terms. I hope that the board approves it.
Thank you, Mr. Chavez. Discussion?
Okay, so, I definitely understand some of the concerns expressed by the public, especially with Anthony said, and I do think we should, we should definitely start looking into doing that. But I really, really do want to fund this event. It does sound like a really good opportunity, especially if the board has worked with them in the past. I'm sure it's going to be really fantastic. To the stakeholders' concerns about, anything in regards to our funding and what we can put our funding towards, it has to be approved by the department. When we have training, they explain that you have to have certain nonprofit status and all of that, so they have to go ahead and approve it. But what I would like to suggest is that we make a separation of these two motions. I definitely think we should make the booth out there, the glitter, the tissue paper, all that's really important, but we need to separate the two motions because if we are not off of exhaustive efforts, we won't be able to get that $1,000. So this is all pending on if Dunn is going to be able to remove that. So I think we should vote on these two things as separate things, just in case $1,000 doesn't come through, we can still say, okay, well, we have another motion to go. And, and I'm gonna give them the glitter and the tissue paper and food.
We can't give it as a donation. It has to be endorsed if we're sponsoring this. Yeah, we wouldn't be able to make a separate motion because we can't donate the items to them because they belong to the city of LA. We would only be able to provide it to the co-sponsor and able to endorse it. El Sereno Community Arts. So we can't just say, here's the stuff. And we'd have to co-sponsor it.
Okay. We're voting on the amendment.
First the amendment.
So we're voting on calling to vote.
For the amendments.
For the amendment.
You're voting? Thank you. Okay, so is there any public comment on this amendment? The amendment.
Move. Okay, let's move. Clock is running.
What? Well,
I trust that they come back with a receipt.
They're
And
with
they're willing to give us an itemized report soon. And
I agree with that too, that they come back with the receipts.
The problem with that is when let's say no what we're paying for. We can't do this. We can't show let them know what we're paying for.
Okay, and I think they've already agreed to provide us with the line item and then give us the receipt after the event. So I think we have
the line item.
the receipt after, but they're gonna provide us with the line item.
Need the money to provide receipts.
Friday, you have the line item?
Thank you.
I'd like to make an amendment. I'd like to add on, to amend the amendment. I'd like to add on that, this will be with the stipulation that we're given an itemized list beforehand. I think that'll kind of help, quell like any concerns and at the same time, like, still be able to give them the funding in the proper amount of time.
Okay, if nobody seconds her amendment, to amend, her amendment just died right then and there. No discussion, nothing's necessary. So if there's no second on her amendment, amend her amendment.
Okay, so now I have a second on the amendment, and you want to include at the end of.
Who seconded
it? At the end of the statement, you want to include, the funds are, what?
With the stipulation that we're given an itemized list before we give the $1,000 of funding. So I guess, that could be within a week or, whenever.
I'm receiving an itemized list prior to funding.
Yeah.
Okay,
once we receive that information, just so we can all receive it and make it up.
Okay. It's been seconded by Nick. Is there any discussion on Sasha's amendment to the amendment? No more discussion? Public comment, Mr. Pacheco? We got a second.
First of all, I have nothing against the police. But if you get a line item, it should be provided to the public before you make a decision. That's part of the Brown Act. Thank you.
No public comment? No.
No more public comment, right? Call for the vote. For the amendment of the amendment. For the amendment of the amendment.
Right, my concern is that if we are putting that stipulation in, like Mr. Pacheco said, we're referring now to a line item.
We'll find out when we get it to them. Yeah.
Present it to the public at the next meeting?
Yeah. Because we're gonna eventually go to a special meeting.
Or we have a special meeting.
Let's just vote and if that's done, then call a special meeting.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and do that then. We're gonna go ahead and take a vote on it. We will take your public comment into serious consideration and find out whether or not, and if that is necessary, then obviously our vote will be null and void and we'll have to have a special meeting prior to your event. When is the event? November 1st. Okay. Okay, so now we're voting on the amendment of the amendment, which now will read, pending removal of exhaustive reference, LA32 Neighborhood Council will co-sponsor with El Sereno Community Arts at the Dia de los Muertos event with funding up to $1,000 and providing tissue paper, with funding up to $1,000 payable to Body of Action and providing tissue paper, glue, and glitter that's currently in LA32 Neighborhood Council public storage and the use of LA32 Easy Up and chairs with the stipulation of receiving an itemized list from ESCA prior to funding. motion, the amended motion, a motion. Okay, can we take a vote on this? All in favor of this amendment to the amended motion? Raise your hand. This is just, we're just voting on the amendment right now, we're not voting on the actual amendment yet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 in favor, 0 opposition, and 1 abstention. I also need to announce that Cynthia Sandoval recused herself from this because she's in one of the organizations mentioned by Mr. Santos. Okay. And so now we're going to vote on the motion.
No, the other amendment.
The first amendment.
Correct.